Good morning. Welcome to NewsWare's Trade Talk for Friday, July 24th. Okay, let's get into the action. Take a look at the S&Ps. We are trading higher. We're up 0.34%, so that's kind of positive. We got weakening oil prices. That's kind of helping improving the market sentiment. The Trump administration, launched its latest round of tariff news. But essentially it's not really changing the tariff rates at all because the current tariff rates are expired this morning, so these are really an extension. But it's being done under a new law, which is has a little bit more legal ground to stand. So it's kind of positive that there's going to be no change in tariff rates. On the economic calendar today, this morning, we get the flash PMIs, we get the new home sales and corporate news. The FDA is reclassifying a bunch of the peptides. They started yesterday. There's going to be more today, and that's kind of positive for HIMSS, HIMS. Salesforce, CRM, they announced a major contract win of $1.6 billion with the Department of Veteran Affairs. And Google released its study on AI, on how AI is being used in various sectors and industries. On the earnings front, we're seeing gains in Intel, THC, DLR, BAH, SLOB, SLB, and GEHC, following their quarter results. But Deckers Outdoors, DECK, is trading lower. On Monday, we got AZN, AstraZeneca, and Bank of Hawaii, HOBOH. But next week, remember, big week next week, very heavy week for earnings. And plus, we got an FOMC announcement. So there's a lot going on next week. And this is going to be the last FOMC meeting until September. Okay, turning our attention over to Europe, and we're taking a look at Germany, which is higher by 0.86% or 213 points, led by gains in tech and financial stocks. London, the FTSE, is higher by 0.38% with gains in financial stocks offsetting the weakness in the energy sector. Then you got France. France is trading higher by 0.48%. Again, banking shares outperforming. The key is that the expectations of the new U.S. tariff announcements are going to leave the European goods capped at the current rate. So that's positive for these European shares. Asia, on the other hand, is a different story. I mean, the Nikkei fell 2.73%. There was a lot of pressure there because the U.S. Treasury, their latest currency report, essentially flagged the persistent weakness in the yen and saying it's undervalued. And that raises the odds of a rate hike for the yen, for a rate hike in Japan this year. Hong Kong finished lower. It was down 0.98%. Middle East worries, some tech weakness, and of course, you got the tariff news, which really isn't good for Asia. China, the Shanghai, fell 1.61%. I mean, that the new tariff rates really did affect China because it's pushing the rates to 10 to 12.5%. So it's not positive. It did create some weakness in China overnight. And then we're taking a look at oil this morning, and oil is trading lower. We got WTI at $89.60. That's down 2.81%. You got Brent at 97.57, down 3.13%. Ooh, finally some weakness. Now, the airstrikes continued overnight. I mean, and the situation does appear to be, the conflict does appear to be expanding now that the Houthi militia is kind of getting involved, targeting cargo in the Red Sea. But markets are kind of looking forward to a new round of peace talks, and they look at this latest uptick in hostilities as really negotiation tactics. So, yeah, oil is trading lower, this morning. That's kind of positive. Okay, now we're moving on to earnings. Let's take a look at some of the key earnings that came out. We got to start off with Verizon, ticker VZ. They beat by 3 cents, although it was done on lower revenue. Then you got Booz Allen, BAH, Boy Apple Henry. Stocks up 2.47%. They beat by 32 cents on lower revenue. Then we're looking at AXP, which is American Express. Stocks trading lower by 4.15%. They beat by 13 cents on higher revenue. And last night, the big one was Intel, INTC. That stock's up 3.7% this morning as they beat by 20 cents on higher revenue. Upcoming, BOH, Bank of Hawaii, their EPS is $1.46. Expected move is 6.35% when they release on Monday morning. And AstraZeneca, AZN, their EPS is $2.50. Expected move is 10.37% when they release. In terms of economic reports, 9:45 a.m. we get the PMI composite flash reports for services and manufacturing. At 10 a.m. we get the new home sales data. 1 p.m. you get the Baker Hughes rig count. In terms of news hitting the tape, Amazon is integrating more AI more prominently into its Prime Video. Google, that Atlas study reveals AI interactions at work focus on collaborative uses such as idea, strategy, information retrieval, and learning. Facebook, Meta Platforms, they announced a new seller verification tool for Facebook Marketplace. In terms of Dow Jones 30 stocks, we're going to talk about CRM, Salesforce. They got a $1.6 billion contract from the Department of Veteran Affairs. Wow, that's big. You look at Salesforce this morning, and that stock is showing gains. It's up, by more than $2 this morning. Verizon, they raised their full year 2026 share repurchasing target to $4.5 billion. In terms of merger news, U.S. judge extends the pause of the Paramount-Warner Brothers deal by 2 weeks. Guidance news, Verizon raised their full year 2026 EPS to $4.99 to $5.04. Street estimate is was at $4.94. So that's an uptick. But THC, Tom Henry Charlie, Tenet Healthcare, they're seeing their full year 2026 EPS coming in $2.30 to $21.69. The street estimate $17.85. That's a huge uptick. Intel sees its Q3 EPS coming in at 38 cents. Street estimates at 28 cents. Wow, big uptick for Intel. Talking buyback news, Tenet Healthcare authorized a $2 billion increase to its share repurchasing program, and VeriSign, VRSN, they announced an additional $884 million to its share repurchasing authorization. Talking Catalyst calls, HPE, Henry Paul Edward, Citibank opened up a 90-day Catalyst watch on Hewlett-Packard Enterprises. And Dell, Citibank also opened up a 90-day Catalyst watch into Dell, into earnings. Okay, let's talk about our pick of the day today. I'm going with AMKR, Apple, Michael, Richard, Kilo, Anacor Technologies. Okay, earnings are out Monday afternoon. The EPS is 47 cents, but the expected move is 24.79%. You look at yesterday's call volume, 2,399 calls traded to 947 puts. That's a 0.39% put-to-call ratio. Open interest, 59,783 to 37,386. It's a 0.63 put-to-call ratio. And the major brokers aren't really following, but the ones that are positive on the stock. So I like to see that. But, the stock's up, big right now. I got to wait to get in under 68.50. That's kind of my sweet spot. So AMKR, Anacor Technologies, that's my pick of the day. But I'm looking for some weakness, and I'm hoping to get in under 60. I'm hoping to get in 68.50 area. Okay, let's talk about the news that's hitting the tape this morning, see what we see. Bank of Japan to keep rates unchanged at next week's policy meeting, even though they're getting pressure from the Treasury Department. Lamb Weston LW exceeds $100 million in savings for 2026. That's big for those guys. That stock's undervalued. They have the ability to trade much higher. Verizon CEO says strongest operating position in years. IBM CEO, I think the quantum will be $1 trillion value by the end of the 2030s. ABBV, they have this lymphoma drug that failed to meet primary endpoints in a phase 3 trial. That's not good. Alibaba took a hit last night, moved lower as the new Trump tariffs take effect today. Novo Nordisk pursues preliminary injunction to block Eli Lilly's weight loss drug ads. Trump's pledge on data center power supplies has drawn skepticism. Anacor Technologies said yesterday that it entered into a multi-year agreement with NVIDIA worth $1.5 billion to expand the advanced semiconductor packaging and testing in the U.S. That's why it's up big today, but I need to wait. Pentagon announced on Thursday a nearly $7 billion up to 10-year agreement with Oracle to consolidate departments' on-premises software licenses into a single contract. That's all I'm seeing this morning. Okay, now we're going to move on. We're going to talk about the pick of the day from yesterday, which was Verizon. I mean, stock opened up at 44.27, fell to 43.78, and closed at 43.82. But then again, after the earnings, it hit 45.54, meaning the 1% was definitely there. Whether you got in at my preferred entry price, which was 44.20. Or the opening price of 42.27. I mean, you look at it this morning. It did hit 45.54. I got out at 44.70, so I made my 1%. So I was happy. But Verizon ticker VZ was a winner yesterday. It was a winner. That was a good call, and I really do still like it. I think that the weakness is a little bit overdone because it pays such a good dividend. So if the market gets weak, everybody starts to gear towards Verizon. So, after what the CEO said and raising the guidance, still very positive on the stock. But that concludes today's podcast for today. Traders, you guys know what to do. Let's go out there and let's make some green.